Veins of Legend, where forgotten myths pulse through history. Welcome, fellow wanderer of time and myth. Today, we open a different door, one carved not in stone, but in memory, imagination, and awe. We descend into the hidden strata of human consciousness, where myths are not dead stories, but living veins, still pulsing, still whispering, within the body of history. What if the echoes of long-lost civilizations are more than coincidence? What if myth is the bloodline of truth, misunderstood or obscured by time? This is not about fantasy. This is about the truth hidden in tales, where memory meets mystery. Imagine standing at the edge of a forgotten city, the wind thick with dust and the scent of ancient fires. The silence isn't empty, it hums. You can feel it, the stories that were once sung here, the gods that were once feared, the rituals that shaped entire worldviews. Now imagine that story never fully died. It simply changed shape. All across our planet, remnants of past worlds lie buried, both physically beneath Earth and culturally beneath centuries of revision. Some of these relics have names: Atlantis, Hyperborea, Shambhala. Others are etched into sacred geometry, oral tradition, and inexplicable architecture. But they all share something strange: they refuse to be forgotten. Ancestral technologies of meaning. Myths weren't just stories, they were technologies, frameworks for understanding what couldn't be explained. Early societies used them to encode the unknowable: time, death, birth, war, love, the stars. Let's revisit a few forgotten chambers. The Sumerian sky maps. Older than most written history, Sumerian tablets show precise celestial records. Were they merely early astronomers, or did they record knowledge from an even older culture? The Hopi Ant People. In Native American lore, the Hopi tell of ant people who saved humanity from a cataclysmic destruction. Could this be a metaphor for subterranean shelter, or a record of another unknown species? The Dogon Star Mystery. The Dogon people of Mali have mythologies about Sirius B, a star invisible without a telescope, long before modern astronomy confirmed its existence. How? Every myth contains more than it seems. The hidden cartography of truth. You've heard of places like El Dorado or Thule, legendary cities glittering with either gold or wisdom. But what if they weren't metaphors at all? What if the underworlds of Mayan mythology referred to real subterranean tunnel networks? The Tower of Babel was a memory of an ancient ziggurat radioing into the heavens? The giants of Norse myth echoed real species we've lost, perhaps erased by the flood myths told across every major culture? These are not baseless speculations. These are mythical historical facts, stories that persist across time, too consistent and too global to ignore. Symbols, the hidden language of the soul. What myth cannot explain through narrative, it expresses through symbol. These symbols transcend culture, appearing again and again. The spiral, a sign of evolution, journey, rebirth, found from Celtic stones to Maori tattoos. The serpent, feared and revered, from Eden to Quetzalcoatl. The eye, always watching, on pyramids, in Hindu gods, in apocalyptic visions. These symbols form a language beneath language, tapping into something we feel before we understand. When myth wakes science, we often think science discredits myth, but what if the two are converging? Quantum physics now considers multiple dimensions, echoing Vedic descriptions of layered realities. DNA research reveals shared origins hinted at in old migration myths. Neuroscience studies the power of archetypes, Jung's collective unconscious, which ancient myths seem to embody long ago. As the line between the metaphysical and the measurable blurs, myth becomes a map, its metaphors pointing toward truth science is only just beginning to quantify. The role of the modern seeker. We live in an era of rediscovery. Mythology is no longer dismissed, it's being reawakened, whether through psychedelic journeys, archaeological breakthroughs, or artistic revival. The modern seeker finds themselves drawn back to these stories, not to escape the world, but to decode it. Ask yourself, what ancestral story lives in your imagination? Which symbols have followed you through life? What forgotten part of yourself might you reclaim by listening to myth? A new renaissance of myth. In every age of transformation, myth returns to guide us. We see it in films that mirror ancient epics, in games that retell quests for truth and magic, in art that evokes sacred geometry and ancient wisdom, even in memes, modern glyphs for communal emotion. This isn't nostalgia, it's initiation. The ancients weren't naive, they were intuitive. They knew how to dress truth in story so it would endure. Veins beneath the stone. Some myths aren't written in scrolls or sung in chants, they're built into the very bones of our world. Temples, pyramids, stone circles, and monoliths speak a language older than words. Their celestial alignment, geometry, and sacred ratios hint at knowledge we're only beginning to reclaim. Why does the number 432 echo across cultures, from Vedic chants to Stonehenge? Why were entire cities oriented to solstices and planetary cycles? These weren't mere religious centers. They were resonant instruments, star clocks, memory palaces. Myth speaks in stone. The golden thread. Mystics speak of a golden thread, an unbroken current of wisdom passed from age to age. Hermeticism, Islamic geometric art, Aboriginal dreamtime, the alchemical renaissance, all tug at this same thread. To follow it is not to seek answers, but to remember that you are the question. Beings of the threshold. From the Apkallu of Sumer to the Watchers of Enoch, ancient myths tell of strange visitors, beings who arrived with knowledge or warning. These weren't just gods or aliens, they may have been guides from neighboring dimensions, embodiments of the mythic itself. When they vanished, so did a part of us. Extinction is amnesia. What if humanity's greatest losses weren't just cultural or biological, but mythic? Cataclysms like the Great Flood weren't just events, they were erasures. Of memory, of connection, of magic. Atlantis, Lemuria, they may not have been cities, they may have been ways of being. The dream continues. Even now, myth finds its way through the cracks of our digital world. Every story told around a fire, every dream remembered, every pattern recognized in chaos, these are echoes of the mythic. We inherit more than genetics. We inherit vision. We carry within us fragments of myth, archetypes rising like moonlight on forgotten waters. To awaken to myth is to become a vessel for it, a weaver, a witness, a torchbearer of stories older than time. Conclusion, the pulse beneath the dust. So here we are, once more standing at the threshold. Myth is not merely the echo of what was, it's the heartbeat of what always is. History gives us the stones, myth gives us the soul. To walk with myth is to walk with mystery, not for answers, but for insight, not to prove, but to feel. Thank you for traveling this far into the liminal. If the pulse of ancient truth beats within you, follow it, question everything, reawaken your symbols, and never stop searching for the sacred that hides beneath the dust. The story isn't over, it's just beginning, and maybe it's your turn to write the next myth.